October 15th, 2012, the Denver Broncos headed on the road to face their division rival, San Diego. The Broncos were led by quarterback Peyton Manning, who didn't play in 2011 after receiving multiple surgeries on his neck. The Colts, who he had played for over a decade, let him go, and the Broncos took a chance on him. 5 games in, despite Manning himself playing well, the Broncos were 2-3. A loss to the Chargers here would certainly put a huge dent in their playoff hopes. Well, by halftime, the Chargers were smoking the Broncos 24-0. But then, this happened.
Day back in. Over the top, Manning, Thomas, touchdown. There you go, coach. Field goal range, just at the edge of it on 3rd and 8. Rivers, hand as he throws. The ball is free. Another loose one. This one is scooped, and it may score with Tony Carter, who is free and all the way home for a game-changing score. 7, 2nd and 3. A quick toss. It's Decker getting a block from Thomas, getting a block from Stokely, getting into the end zone for the touchdown. Finally gets the snap away, and Manning fires. End zone shot. Stokely went up and caught it for the touchdown.
This amazing comeback by the Broncos was the official turning point for both of these teams. And this was just one of the many epic moments that happened in the NFL back in 2012. So, along with Peyton Manning going to the Broncos, here were some other important preseason storylines. Since the Broncos did acquire Peyton Manning, they traded away Tim Tebow to the Jets. This was a huge media story, since Tebow was coming off that magical playoff run the previous season. Randy Moss, after retiring in 2011, came out of retirement to join the 49ers. Could the Eagles bounce back with Michael Vick? Vick had won Comeback Player of the Year in 2010, but he had regressed a bit in 2011. Some believed that if he could stay healthy, then him, Andy Reid, and Philadelphia were in for a potential playoff run. Were the Panthers with second-year starting quarterback Cam Newton a playoff team? How would the previous Super Bowl champion Giants fare? How many rookie quarterbacks were going to start? How would the New Orleans Saints cope without Sean Payton? This was the year that New Orleans was busted for Bountygate. Their defensive coordinator Greg Williams was suspended indefinitely, and Sean Payton was suspended for a year. But nothing would dominate the headlines to begin the first few weeks of the season like the replacement refs did. I'll go ahead and refresh you on exactly what went down. Basically, the regular refs were in a lockout that began in June of 2012. And instead of getting a new deal done with the NFL Referees Association, Roger Goodell decided to take a chance on new referees to start the season. His reason was because they had already dealt with this problem back in 2001, and things didn't go too bad. The difference was, back in 2001, some of those replacement refs were as good as Division I level refs. Now in 2012, the NFL could only get high school and some lower college level refs. There were even former Lingerie Football League refs out there to start the NFL season. This proved to be a complete disaster. Just total and utter incompetence. Incorrectly awarding extra timeouts, failing to throw flags on very obvious helmet-to-helmet collisions, a 6-minute review just to realize that the play they were reviewing wasn't even allowed to be reviewed, failing to even review if this game-winning field goal went in or not, and most notoriously, the Fail Mary, where these two referees made different signals, eventually awarding this game-winning touchdown when they definitely shouldn't have. Things had gotten so bad that just weeks after the start of the season, an agreement was reached to bring back the actual refs, which was met with applause. Having the wrong people in referee uniforms proved to have terrible consequences, kinda like not having any protection from identity theft. Did you know there's a new victim of identity theft every 14 seconds? Luckily, today's video is sponsored by Aura. I'm really excited about Aura because it has identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, password management, and antivirus software all combined into one easy-to-use app. What's cool about Aura is that it monitors the dark web for your emails, passwords, and social security numbers, and it sends you alerts fast right to your phone.
Normally I don't think about my passwords being compromised, like over the internet or the dark web or anything, but I logged onto my Aura account and clicked the top corner and literally found out that 4 of my passwords have been leaked to the dark web.
And with fraud, literally every second matters. You just have to connect your credit and bank accounts and you'll get notified of any changes up to 4 times faster than any of Aura's competitors. Plus, their antivirus software will block malware and viruses before they infect your devices. So you're getting all these awesome services in one easy-to-use app. You should just try it out free for the next 14 days. Use my link below to get started and you can go find out if your personal information has been leaked to the dark web. It gave me a lot of peace of mind, and I know it'll do the same for you. Overall, heading into the 2012 season, here were the top 10 power rankings. Green Bay had gone 15-1 the year before, so many saw them as the favorites. Of course, everyone was also eager to see how the previous Super Bowl champion Giants would play in 2012. And as far as players go, here were the top 5 statistically at quarterback, running back, and receiver from the previous season, just to give you an idea of who was putting up the best numbers. Also, Madden 13 with Calvin Johnson on the cover was released in August. Okay, now let's go over the regular season and then look at some storylines and stats at the end.
Falcons down by 1. And going deep for Roddy White. And White makes the catch! Roddy White!
By week 5, the Texans and Falcons were ahead of the pack, dominating with high-powered offenses. The Cardinals were also undefeated, but people felt that they were still pretenders. Week 6, with the Packers crumbling, the Bears and Vikings took charge in the NFC North. Week 8, the Cardinals, who had lost 3 straight, officially were pretenders after starting undefeated. The Falcons were still holding strong at 6-0, and Houston still looked very strong after blowing out the 5-2 Ravens. Matt Schaub, Arian Foster, and Andre Johnson were a scary 3-headed monster in 2012. Week 10, halfway through the season, the Falcons still hadn't lost. The Bears and Texans were right behind them, and some were saying that if the Bears offense could get in gear, they would be considered the best team in football. Their defense and special teams were literally dominating. They had scored 2 touchdowns and a safety in the first quarter alone versus the Titans. Week 11, the Falcons finally dropped a game, and Houston, after meeting with the Bears, proved that they were the best team in the league at the time. The Niners and Ravens were also looking strong and steady like they had all year. The Packers were back on track, and the Giants had started to fall off after dropping a few games. Week 14, entering the final stretch of the regular season, the Texans and Falcons stood at 11-1, and the Niners, despite being 8-3-1, were still trying to figure out what to do at quarterback, since Colin Kaepernick stepped in and performed really well after Alex Smith's concussion. They would eventually decide to ride with Kaepernick for the rest of the season due to how well that he was performing. Also, Colts rookie Andrew Luck had been incredible, as it looked like he was going to carry the Colts to the playoffs. Week 15, the Patriots blow out the 11-1 Texans, and they put themselves back on top. Denver is right behind them after winning 8 straight with Manning. Kaepernick is taking the NFL by storm, and the Ravens, despite being 9-4, fired their offensive coordinator. Week 16, Kaepernick continues his brilliance with 4 touchdown passes. The Broncos keep their winning streak alive, and the Seahawks, with rookie Russell Wilson and veteran running back Marshawn Lynch, are surging. And to end the regular season, the Broncos finish on an 11-game win streak, and they were the hottest team in the NFL. The Seahawks had shocked everybody as well, and their defense had officially become the Legion of Boom. Washington also surged with RG3, who had won Rookie of the Year with his impressive dual-threat versatility. The Packers overcame early struggles to win the division. The Bears had collapsed at the end of the season, which cost head coach Lovie Smith his job. The Texans, despite finishing 12-4, really had fallen off. And same as the Ravens, who were, quote, limping into the playoffs after losing 4 of their last 5.
Handoff is to Peterson, gets by Raji, gets by Pickett, gets into the secondary, and MD Jennings forces him out of bounds at the 40. Now he is over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th running back in the history of the league to get there.
He tore his ACL at the end of the 2011 season, which generally takes about 9 months to heal from, and most don't come back where they left off. Peterson came back ready to go earlier than expected and stronger than ever. He landed just 9 yards shy of the all-time single-season rushing record and went on to win league MVP. Now, as far as single-season records go, this guy put himself in the history books. Calvin Johnson was in the midst of the greatest 2-year stretch by a receiver that we had ever seen. Peterson and Johnson at this time actually gave NFL fans a reason to tune in to a Vikings-Lions game. Also, in 2012, Chuck Pagano landed his first ever head coaching job in the NFL with the Colts, but he was unfortunately diagnosed with leukemia early into the season, which he went into treatment for beginning week 5. He did not coach the team at this time, and the team was turned over to interim coach Bruce Arians. Then, with Pagano's cancer in remission, he returned for the final week of the regular season, which was met with a huge ovation from his players. The Colts had also finished the year on quite the run, which overall made this the most beautiful feel-good moment of 2012. Another really cool moment was in week 3, when wide receiver Torrey Smith had an incredible 127-yard, 2-touchdown performance just one day after finding out that his brother had died. His performance was met with chants from the fans.
They are just battling out there on the outside.
Now, going back to some of the other preseason storylines, Randy Moss put up a modest 400 yards and 3 touchdowns with the Niners. Tim Tebow's year in New York was a massive flop. They couldn't figure out an effective way to use him, and this would be his only season as a Jet. The Giants, 1 year removed from a Super Bowl victory, failed to make the playoffs. The Eagles were the most disappointing team in football, going 4-12, and this was Andy Reid's final season as their coach. The Cowboys looked like they had a good chance to make the playoffs, until the Saints did them in. The Saints struggled without their head coach, but Drew Brees was as good as ever. The Cardinals started 4-0 like I said, and then they finished 5-11. That's almost as bad as this play.
And in Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator, you got a busted play here, and then
Cam Newton and the Panthers, record-wise, didn't live up to expectations. There were many rookie quarterbacks who played well. It looked like the future of the NFL was with Andrew Luck, RG3, and Russell Wilson. Okay, now it's time for the playoffs. In the first round of the NFL playoffs, the limping Baltimore Ravens come alive against Andrew Luck. Houston narrowly beats Cincinnati. Green Bay handles Minnesota. And the battle of rookie quarterbacks is ultimately won by Russell Wilson. They were down 14-0 early, but they managed to make a comeback. Also, RG3 suffered a devastating knee injury in that game. Round 2. Houston can't keep up with Tom Brady. Colin Kaepernick put up an outstanding playoff debut versus the Packers, where he set the all-time quarterback rushing record, including regular season, with 181 yards. Matt Ryan clutches up versus Seattle to win his first career playoff game. And perhaps the biggest upset of the entire playoffs, Baltimore defeats the #1 seeded Broncos in double overtime. So many big plays happened. 2 kick return touchdowns by Trendon Holiday, an amazing touchdown grab by Torrey Smith, and I don't think any Ravens fan is going to forget this play.
Flacco stepping up and throwing deep down the far sideline. Caught! Into the end zone! Touchdown!
With no timeouts, it was truly an unbelievable moment. Moving on to the AFC Championship, Baltimore stunned New England. Talk about an improbable run. The Ravens looked like they were finished by the end of the regular season, and after 3 incredible wins, they advanced to the Super Bowl. In the NFC Championship, Atlanta looked like they were going to pull away, jumping out on top 17-0. But then, they blew that 17-point lead. Kaepernick led the comeback and helped the Niners advance to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 47. The matchup between brother head coaches and 2 teams of destiny. It was a pretty awesome matchup on paper, but rather early, the Ravens asserted their dominance on both sides of the ball. Entering halftime, Baltimore was up 21-6. And then to open the second half, Jacoby Jones took the second half kickoff 109 yards to the house. Now, most people don't even remember all that because of what happened next. The power went out, and it lasted over 35 minutes in front of over 100 million live TV spectators. Coming out of that power outage, the Niners reset the momentum and mounted a comeback, and Colin Kaepernick, down by 5 with less than 2 minutes left, had his chance for Super Bowl glory. On 4th and goal, with the game on the line, this happened.
Lost it in the air. No flag. Incomplete.
The Ravens went on to win Super Bowl 47, which capped off an epic season of unlikely runs with perhaps the most improbable. Typically, you need to get hot at the right time in sports, and entering the playoffs, like I said, the Ravens had lost 4 of their last 5. And really, it should have been worse. Going back to their Week 12 matchup versus the Chargers, the Ravens were surely going to lose. Backed up to a 4th and 29 after the 2-minute warning, it was their last shot. And it turns out that without this moment right here, the Ravens would have lost the division and possibly would have changed everything.
Game for Baltimore. Flacco in the pocket. Dump off. Rice has some room, but can he really get to that first down line? Rice stays on his feet. Oh, Ray Rice! Incredible! Ray Rice! Runs low to the ground, absorbs the hit,